the meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Ransom Ellis.
Here.
Brandon Andrews.
Here.
Cynthia Hyder. Tony Mitchell.
Here.
Randy Phelps.
Here.
Kevin Hahn.
Here.
Eric Pedersen.
Here. You all got the agenda. Got your motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Ransom Ellis.
Aye.
Eric Pedersen.
Aye.
Randy Phelps.
Aye.
Tony Mitchell.
Aye.
Kevin Hahn.
Aye.
Brandon Andrews.
From last month? Approving the minutes with abstain. I wasn't here last month.
No, this, that was the agenda for tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
I'm sorry, I told you wrong. All right. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes of January 14th, 2019 meeting.
Can I make one comment real quick?
Yes.
We operate under Robert's Rule of Order for the commission, and according to Robert's Rule of Order, even if you were absent from the last meeting, you can still vote to approve the minutes.
Okay.
It's just an act of saying these minutes you believe that they were taken correctly. So you don't have to abstain. You can abstain if you want to because you weren't here, but you do not have to abstain under Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank you for the clarification.
An anticipatory comment. Thank you. All right. Any additions or subtractions from the minutes? Mayor, motion?
I'll motion.
Mayor, second?
I'll second.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Tony Mitchell.
Aye.
Ransom Ellis.
Aye.
Brandon Andrews.
Aye.
Eric Pedersen.
Aye.
Randy Phelps.
Aye.
Kevin Hahn.
Aye.
Okay, we have tonight on our agenda one public hearing. I read this commission opening statement of the hearing for everybody. The Planning and Zoning Commission holds public hearings as required by law and provides recommendations to City Council on all matters relating to comprehensive plans, zoning map amendments, subdivisions, text amendments, special use permits, public infrastructure projects, and other matters affecting land use and development within the city as provided by the city's adopted ordinances and Missouri state statutes. Any person who has an interest in the subject matter of a hearing will have the opportunity to provide testimony and present evidence to the Planning and Zoning Commission during the public hearing. Each item on the Planning and Zoning Commission agenda is discussed separately and in the order presented on the agenda unless amended by the commission. Speakers are required to conduct themselves in an orderly and respectful manner. Disruptive behavior, including applause, yelling, speaking out of turn, or other inappropriate behaviors will not be tolerated. Additionally, the following applies to any person addressing the commission. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes unless authorized additional time by the chairman. Speakers must speak at the podium unless previous arrangements have been made by the chairman. Speakers must legibly print their name and address on the sign-in sheet at the podium prior to speaking. Speakers must begin by stating their name and address. Speakers must speak clearly and into the microphone. The Planning and Zoning Chairman will announce the subject of the hearing, followed by a staff report and presentation by the Community Development Department. The Chairman will then open the public hearing to the applicant, followed by those in favor of the application and those opposed to the application. The Chairman will close the public hearing. During this time, the Commission will discuss among themselves. The public may not address the Commission after the close of the public hearing unless requested by the Chairman. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall base their recommendation and/or decision on information and evidence presented during the public hearing. This decision, if required by the application, will be forwarded in writing to the City Council for further consideration. I will call at this time the, if I get the right one here. That's not it. This public hearing of VACA 19-001, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of a right-of-way vacation of approximately 864 feet on Illinois Avenue. Karen, are you presenting?
I am. Thank you, Chairman. The City of Republic's Public Works Department has applied for a right-of-way vacation, again, of approximately 864 feet of Illinois Avenue. The city's Public Works Department is requesting the right-of-way vacation as referenced in your packet as the exhibit. The reference right-of-way vacation was originally approved by the city's Board of Aldermen back in December 14th, 1998. It was recently discovered by the Community Development Department and Public Works Departments during the review of an infrastructure permit. The ordinance approving the right-of-way vacation was never recorded. In order to record the vacation, the original signed ordinance approving the right-of-way vacation must be presented to the Greene County Recorder's Office. As far as an analysis of the present site conditions, staff does not believe the vacation will have any impact on the city's transportation, land use, municipal utilities, floodplain, or any other public services. And staff is recommending the approval of the right-of-way vacation request.
We're ready to hear the first, any witnesses that want to come. First, anyone in favor of the, or proponent of the passage of this matter, come forward and speak. Have no one. Anyone opposed to this matter, come forward and speak. Not selling anything tonight. All right, with that, I'm going to close this public hearing and we'll move to our discussion. Questions? Comments? Motions?
Where does the land go to? I mean, once it's vacated, then what becomes of it?
It reverts back to the original owner.
1998. Yeah. Doug Boatwright.
He had other agendas.
Long time ago. I hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
Second. All right. Everyone understand the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll, please.
Randy Phelps.
Aye.
Brandon Andrews.
Aye.
Eric Pedersen.
Aye.
Kevin Hahn.
Aye.
Tony Mitchell.
Aye.
Ransom Ellis.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item of business is citizen participation. Anyone who wishes to come forward and speak to us may do so. There's only one of you now. No takers. We'll move to the Community Development Department update.
Thank you. I left two sheets in front of you tonight. We'll just briefly go over both the single-family residential permits issued during January 2019, and then also our commercial building projects that are in review, permitted, and under construction. First off, for the single-family residential building permits, we were able to issue 27 for the month of January. And then in the second portion of that same sheet, you'll see that we've conducted 48 residential inspections and 17 commercial inspections during January. You move on to the second sheet, the technical review team project status report. This again is for January 2019. This is a report that we review with the technical review team every Monday afternoon during our meetings. So briefly, I'll just go through the projects that are current. Everything in green is a commercial project that is currently under construction. Items in red, including the Garden Stormwater Improvements Project, we are pending pickup. The items in black are projects that were recently completed in January 2019. So we have the Panda Express was completed, and we also have the City Hall renovation, which was completed. And then you'll notice at the bottom of that portion of the list, we have two projects that are referred to as BLDCs, 19001 and 19002. We have revised our naming conventions for our commercial building projects, so the BLDC will be our new naming convention. We do have two projects that were submitted during January and are currently in review. So the Backwoods Golf Development Plan, this is the site plan development only. We are currently in the first submittal review, and then Edward Jones Info Project, we're also currently in first submittal review. Really quickly, going back down that sheet, we have subdivisions and infrastructure permits. You'll see there are several that you may remember from this last year. We have the Trails at Valley Park, Phase 1. That infrastructure is now complete, and they are pending a final decision on the final plat next Tuesday with City Council. We have the second phase pending state permits. We have Trogdon Industrial, which was recently completed. Monte Cristo Phase 6 infrastructure that is currently under construction. Garden 3 infrastructure, we're awaiting some state permits on that. We also have the OTC water main infrastructure project and then Brinko's project, both under construction. We are currently reviewing a preliminary plat for 139 lot residential subdivision, which will be coming before you in the next month or so. That's SUBD, again a new naming convention, 19003 Avila. Several minor subdivisions which we're finishing up. We do have the vacation listed that we just heard tonight on the second page, and then there are several ordinances that staff is currently working on that'll be bringing, we will be bringing forward for your review and recommendation in the next couple of months. The final portion of that sheet, I do have just a very brief description of a couple of the projects which were new in January 2019. The Backwoods Golf Project, a minor lot split for McLean Group, another minor lot split on West Broad, and then the Avila residential subdivision. And I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding projects that are currently in review or under construction.
What's the Edward Jones infill? What is that?
That's an office infill project in the Wildwood Plaza.
Oh, okay.
So that'll actually be the unit closest to, it'll be the middle building closest to Flat Creek.
How many houses are going in? I mean, what is the subdivision you just said, 139? How many houses are going in?
Once we get through the final plat for the Trails at Valley Park, I believe that was, I want to say 30 something. We have another major subdivision. We actually have two more that were recently submitted in February, and that's why they're not on this list. One for another 32 lot subdivision, and then another one for, I believe, right around 50 residential lots. So you'll be seeing both of those projects in the next couple of months once staff gets through our preliminary reviews.
Great. More roofs.
The conventional wisdom is that if you've got about 200 platted lots in the market, that you are close to equilibrium. You've got a sufficient supply for, what the demand has been, the rate of growth. And that's about where, I think that is holding true, because that's about where we've been. But you still hear calls for more lots from some builders. So it could be that, right now it needs to be a little bit more than 200, but the building, the pace of the home building is keeping up with or outpacing those lots coming into the market, so it's difficult to maintain that 200 or above, just because they're disappearing as fast as they get platted. And we issued, it's on the, I think Karen mentioned, we issued 20, I think we've issued 28 single-family residential building permits so far this year. That's a number of different builders, but they seem to be building, handfuls at a time, rather than just one or two like it was for a number of years. They're pulling, there's one builder that's building 6, 7, 8, houses all at once, sometimes more. And the pace at Valley Trails, I think, will be telling. That's those houses will likely be in a different segment of the market, price point wise. So that will be interesting to see at what pace those get constructed and sell. That'll be an interesting sort of signal about where the market is in that price range.
What kind of price range they're gonna be in?
I don't know for certain.
They're kind of all over. They have big houses and small.
Yeah, the lot sizes vary.
As I talked to the builder, and I mean, he said that there was going to be some large houses, but there's a few of the cul-de-sacs are designed to have small 3-2s, and they're going after like an older market that they can, they don't have to leave their house. They can kind of retire in the community. So it's kind of an interesting concept.
Is that the King Hancock development?
Yes.
You done?
I am, unless there are any further
Go to the
questions.
comprehensive plan update.
Garrett's gonna take over.
So speaking of growth, we're reaching a point now with the comprehensive plan where for the last year or so, we've been just collecting massive amounts of data about the community's infrastructure, about our transportation system, and now a lot of that is beginning to come together. A lot of that's beginning to take shape. We're getting to see some of the results from the studies that Burns and McDonnell has been doing on our water and our wastewater, and we've been taking this time to sort of look over this data, and we've had time to reflect on it. And I think what is sort of materializing out of that is this realization that Republic is definitely in a window of opportunity, not just right now, but for the foreseeable future. This comprehensive plan has a time horizon of about 20 years, and we believe that opportunity extends throughout that 20 years. We've projected population growth to about 40,000 people by the year 2040, and we've spent a lot of time on those projections to try to make sure that they're correct. We've studied other communities around the country that are like Republic, and we've studied their growth rates, communities that used to be Republic, suburbs in medium-sized metro areas, and that 20 years ago were 18,000 people. We've studied their growth rates to see how fast did they grow and under what conditions, and we feel really confident about that particular growth rate. That's a pretty substantial rate of growth. And but one thing we always try to keep in mind is we don't just want to grow for the sake of growth. We want to keep in mind, what is the growth doing for us? Or is the growth doing anything for us? Because growth in and of itself doesn't necessarily do anything. But the growth for Republic, we believe, is a good thing because that growth presents even further opportunities. So the growth in and of itself is an opportunity. If you've looked over the results of our last community survey that we sent out, and you listen to a lot of what people say around the community and what people seem to be asking for at the Chamber of Commerce, there's a lot of things out there that people are desiring to be in the community, but they're not here yet. And I believe that the reason they're not here yet is because the market cannot support it. And the only way we're going to get to a place where the market can support what the community is demanding is to grow. And we will reach these certain points where I believe we will reach these certain thresholds where once we hit that size, then the market will be able to support a lot of these things. And so we'll see not just growth in houses, but we'll also see growth in services, and we'll see growth in commercial opportunities as well. And so the growth is an opportunity. Republic's also uniquely situated as far as communities in and around the Springfield metro area, in that we have an opportunity to benefit from being located at sort of the convergence of a number of primary arterial thoroughfares, and arterial on a regional scale, not just arterial to us, but arterial on a regional scale. We have very close proximity access to Interstate 44, to James River, into the south side of Springfield through Republic Road, to Center Springfield through Sunshine. Republic has an opportunity to be a community where you can go anywhere you want from everywhere in Republic. And also our proximity to the airport adds in sort of an intermodal aspect to that. So our challenge in seizing that opportunity is to protect those corridors. What we don't want to happen is we have these great assets and then we clog them up and they're worthless, and it still takes you in the future potentially 40, 45 minutes to commute to work, which is not the end result that we want. So what we're identifying right now is a number of opportunities, and that's sort of the approach we're taking to the development of the actual comprehensive plan. Is here is a number of opportunities that we believe the windows for these opportunities are going to materialize at some point over the next 20 years. We want to identify what those opportunities are now so that we can be prepared to seize them, which is actually the easy part. I think just intuitively people think, well, if you can identify an opportunity, then you make preparations, right, for when it's going to happen. Another challenge that we probably don't think enough about, though, is that we don't try to seize the opportunity too early. And I think a lot of communities make that mistake when they're doing their comprehensive planning, is they identify all these opportunities, and then they say, well, we're going to make the decisions now about what all that's going to be, right? And sometimes the window of opportunity hasn't opened yet, and you make the decision too early, and you expend a bunch of resources, and you spend a bunch of money, and you invest in something, and then the market doesn't follow you because you were guessing, and you guessed wrong. You guessed too early, and you get it wrong. But by the time you've expended all that infrastructure, now you don't have the resources. When the window of opportunity finally does open up, you spent all your money, right? And you probably don't have enough money to do anything with, because what I think we see is communities spend all that money, they invest in this one place where they were guessing, and then if they get it wrong, well, now you've invested in that, right? Now you have all these sunken costs, so you continue to reinvest, thinking if we just pour some more in here, right, we can make this thing come to life. Downtown revitalization, I think, is often like this. Communities decide we're going to pump all this, investment. The market doesn't follow, right? And then what they're stuck with is, well, we've got to breathe some life into this somehow because we've already spent millions and millions of dollars. So now you've got to subsidize development in your downtown. And the businesses that go in there are now being subsidized. And that's a very difficult, that can be like a drug to a lot of businesses. And it's hard to get those businesses off of the subsidies once they're on it. So you continue to have to pump more and more resources into an area, when I believe the better approach is to identify that this opportunity is going to exist, but we can defer making those decisions until the opportunity is right, until the window of opportunity actually opens, and we can save ourselves a bunch of time and money and heartache in the process. So I think to the point Randy made at the last meeting, Republic is sort of in a unique situation where we have downtown here, the historical downtown, but the future center of the city could be in a number of different locations. And is that a new downtown? Do you have two downtowns? Do you have a historic downtown and a new, but the city doesn't have the resources today, right, to make any of that happen. We don't have private investors lining up to make any of that happen. The window of opportunity is not now. So the time to make that decision is probably not now. So that's the approach that is sort of coming to be with regard to the opportunity plan, is identifying these opportunities, identifying why these are good opportunities to seize, and then beginning to prepare to seize them. Some of them, those windows of opportunity are now. Some of those windows of opportunity are in the future. And the key is to be prepared and to have the information that we need to be successful. So those are the things over the rest of this year that we'll be talking about. I wish we had some more of the actual content of what those opportunities are going to be, but we just don't have it already yet. That's what we're going to sort of bring out on the 19th. So if you guys have the opportunity to be there for that workshop, I'd encourage you to be there so that you can sort of see this in sort of a visual form, kind of the first initial blast of this information, these lists of opportunities that we identified. Like I said, I wish we had it here tonight, but it's not done baking just quite yet. So a little more time in the oven, and we'll be ready next Tuesday. But just to sort of whet your appetite a little bit, we did prepare what we're referring to as a teaser trailer that will close here with you just a minute. You give me just one.
If he's bringing in ADC.
What time does the meeting start?
5:30.
It'll be 5:30,
That's
an hour before the council meeting. Yes.
full business if the other restaurants can get them,
That there's what?
since Flat Creek open. The shot in the arm has been for the other restaurants because it's been so crowded. They have all been packed. Every restaurant in town since that opened.
How about people going out, deciding they don't wanna wait 2 hours, beeline it over to Beat-Ups?
McAllister's, Village Inn, all of them are just,
I've heard that.
so it's been a good shot in the arm. They're opening.
And look at the discounts.
Is that the end of your,
Agreement for that?
are you done? I hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
That's sick.
Brandon won his name in the minutes one more time.
Yeah, just once.
Call the roll, please.
Tony Mitchell,
Aye.
Ransom Ellis,
Aye.
Brandon Andrews,
Aye.
Eric Pedersen,
Aye.
Randy Phelps, Kevin Hahn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be sure to fill out the findings of fact.
Like in this one, then
And
why
leave it
why did I
with
have to get the
Ransom.
3 hours?
I did.